Your son just told his friend you're poor. Not money's tight. Not we're careful right now. Poor. Flat, certain, no hesitation, the same tone he'd use to say the sky is blue. It's Tuesday. You're pouring coffee. He's at the table, cereal in front of him, backpack already on. He does that 10 minutes early, like if he's ready soon enough, the whole day goes easier. He looks up. Dad, Tyler said we're poor. You freeze with the pot in your hand. He said our car is ugly. He said poor people drive ugly cars. You set it down slow, so it doesn't look like your hand just moved on its own. What did you say back? He shrugs, the kind of shrug that means it never once occurred to him to argue. I said, yeah, we are. 9 words. Feels longer than 9 years. Because 3 miles from this kitchen, in a bank, under your name there's $9 million. Your son doesn't know that number exists. Neither does Tyler. Neither does anyone who has ever looked at your car and decided who you are. Every quiet millionaire story makes this look like winning. Nobody shows you what it costs or who ends up paying for it without ever being told there was a bill. This is where it started. Level 1. $0. You're 23. You have a laptop, a mattress on the floor, and a checking account that hits 0 the same day your paycheck lands, every single time, like clockwork you didn't build and can't stop. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being broke. It's loud. Everyone can see it. Your car, your clothes, the way you order the cheapest thing on the menu and say you're not that hungry. There's a moment, a specific Tuesday, a grocery store, your card declining in front of 4 people that you never talk about again. Not because it was the worst thing that ever happened to you, because it taught you something you'll spend the next 15 years acting on. The cashier says it quietly, like she's trying to help. Do you want to put something back? You do the math out loud in front of everyone. Milk stays. Eggs stay. The frozen pizza goes back. Being seen while you're struggling costs you something. Dignity, mostly. And you decide, right there, holding a gallon of milk you almost couldn't pay for, that whatever you build next, you're going to build it quietly, where nobody gets to watch the math happen in real time again. You just don't know yet how far quietly is going to go. Level 2. $1,200 saved. This is the level nobody makes a video about because it doesn't look like anything. You're not rich, you're barely stable. But for the first time, there's a number that doesn't move when your paycheck doesn't land yet. You set up an automatic transfer, $20, then $50, then $100, moving out of checking the same hour your paycheck lands, before you can see it, before you can talk yourself out of it. Your friends invite you on a trip. You say you're saving for something, you don't say what. You start doing something you'll do for the rest of your life without ever really deciding to.
Same boring
You separate the
fund,
money that
same
matters
habit
from
of
the
driving
money
the
people
same
can
used
see.
Corolla you
The
bought at
checking
level
account
1.
is for groceries and rent and looking normal. The other account, the one nobody asks about because nobody knows it exists, that one is for you. You didn't know that's what you were building. You just knew $1,200 felt like something worth protecting. Level 3. $28,000. You've been doing this for 3 years now, same unglamorous discipline. The coworker leases a car that costs more per month than your entire grocery budget, $640 every month for 5 years. You say it looks nice, you just don't say the rest of the sentence in your head. That's $38,000, and in an index fund it would already be worth meaningfully more by the time he makes his last payment. You're not smarter than him. You just made a boring decision 3 years ago and never revisited it. Your sister calls. She needs $2,000 rent, an emergency, the kind of thing that happens to everyone eventually. You have it. You could send it in 90 seconds. You send half. You tell her it's all you've got right now. That's the first lie. Not a big one, but it's the first time the quiet account requires you to manage what people believe is true about you, not just what they can see, but what they believe when they ask you directly. You don't sleep great that night, not because you feel guilty about the money, because you realize the account isn't just growing dollars anymore. It's growing distance between what people think you have and what's actually true. And that gap is only going to get wider from here. Level 4. $310,000. You crossed a line most people never cross. $250,000 invested, growing whether you're paying attention or not, and you still drive the Corolla. At Thanksgiving, your mother mentions, quietly, almost like she's not really saying it out loud, that she's behind on a medical bill. $1,100, you could pay it before dessert is served. You don't say anything. Because the moment you become the person who can pay for things, you become the person everyone assumes should. So you do it anonymously. A transfer with no name attached, from an account she doesn't know exists, to cover a bill she never has to thank you for. She'll mention it later, the strangest thing happened, the bill just got paid, and you'll act as surprised as she is. Somewhere in this level, you get married. Small, quiet, courthouse, not because you couldn't afford more, but because more has never once been the point. Your wife knows about the second account. She's the only one who does. Level 5, $1.4 million. You are, on paper, a millionaire. In person, you are a guy in a 14-year-old car who still buys the store brand coffee. At the block party that summer, a neighbor pulls up in a brand new truck. Everyone gathers around it. Someone asks what you drive. You say the same old Corolla, and there's a small laugh. Not unkind, just the kind people give when they've decided who you are and you've just confirmed it. Nobody at that party knows you could buy 4 of that truck without touching your investments. That night, your wife asks, gently, not for the first time, why you still live like people who don't have what you have. You tell her it's about staying grounded. That's true. It's also not the whole truth. The whole truth is the version of you that grew up watching a debit card decline at a checkout line never fully believes the money is real until it's tested. And the only way you know how to test it is to make sure nobody's watching when it fails or when it doesn't. There's a name for what you've become without ever setting out to become it. The millionaire next door. Not the one with the yacht, the actual statistical majority of American millionaires who live in an ordinary house, drive an ordinary car, and have a net worth nobody around them would ever guess within a factor of 10. Level 6. $4.6 million. A business you started on the side, the one you told people was just a hobby that pays for itself, gets acquired. The number that lands in your account changes the math on everything. This is the level where hiding stops being a personality trait and starts being an actual structure. The house goes into a revocable trust, private out of public probate, tax benefits intact. The business assets go into an LLC with a name that means nothing to anyone. Now a public records search turns up a trustee and a shell company, not a person, not a number, nothing. Your oldest friend, the one from the mattress on the floor apartment, calls to ask for investing advice. Just advice, nothing more. You give him generic tips. You don't tell him what you actually did or how or what it's worth now. He never asks you for money. He never gets the chance to. And somewhere in that gap, the space between what he could have asked for and what he never knew to ask, the friendship quietly becomes smaller than it used to be. Not broken, just smaller. A little further away every year without either of you ever deciding that on purpose. That's the actual price of level 6, not the attorney's retainer, not the LLC filing fee. It's the distance you didn't mean to create, showing up months later as a text thread that used to be daily and now goes a week between replies, and then 2 weeks, and then you're not sure when you stopped counting. Level 7, $9 million, present day, which brings you back to a Tuesday morning, a bowl of cereal, and a son who just told you matter-of-factly without an ounce of doubt that you're poor. You could correct him right now, show him the number. Watch his face change. It would take 4 seconds and 1 phone screen. You don't. Instead, you kneel down. We're not poor, you say. We just don't need people to know what we have. That's a choice we made, a good one, I think. Not because we're hiding something bad, because the second people know, everything changes. How they treat you, what they ask you for, whether they're your friend because of you or because of what you have. Your son thinks about that for a second, as much as an 8-year-old thinks about anything. So Tyler thinks we're poor because we're good at pretending? We're good at not performing, you say. There's a difference. Pretending means lying about who you are. This is just not putting it on display. He doesn't fully understand it yet. He will, eventually, the way you understood it at level 1, standing at a checkout counter, deciding that whatever you built next, you'd build it where no one could see. At the curb, right before he gets out, he turns back. Dad, are we going to be poor forever? You almost laugh. Instead, you just say no. We're going to be exactly what we've always been. He nods, like that's a real answer. To him right now it is. Tyler's mother catches your eye across the parking lot and walks over. She mentions, almost apologetically, that the tuition at the private school across town, the one with the good math program, is just a stretch right now. We're doing okay, she says, with the specific brightness of someone who wants you to know she's not asking for anything. Just tight this year. You could write that check without checking a balance. You could do it before she finishes the sentence. That's rough, you say instead. Hope it works out. You watch her in the rearview mirror as you pull away, and for a second the whole trade sits right there in the car with you, not as a number but as a feeling with a name you're still not sure you've found yet. Here's what 15 years and $9 million actually taught you. At level 1, you learned that being visibly broke costs you dignity. At level 2 and 3, you learned that the habits that build wealth, automating, saying less, never upgrading, are the exact same habits that keep it hidden. At level 4 and 5, you learned that quiet money can still do real good, but every anonymous transfer widens the gap between what people think is true about you and what actually is. At level 6, you learned that gap has a price. It's paid in the friend who stopped asking because he never knew there was anything to ask for. And at level 7, you learned the real question was never how much can I hide. It was always who am I hiding it from and what does it cost them not to know. Stealth wealth isn't a flex. Security is real. The peace of never performing for anyone, that's real too. But it's a trade, you get all of that. And in exchange you give something up, the sister who only got half, the best friend who stopped asking, the mother who still doesn't know it was you. The one thing the levels can't teach you is where your own line is. How much distance you're willing to let grow between you and the people who knew you before any of this. You're still deciding every single day whether that trade was worth it. If you had $9 million right now, would you tell your kids, your best friend, your own mother? Comment the number where you think you'd finally stop hiding it. I read every one.